Oscar Brooks, and I'm here with Daniel Buchanan, and he's one of our missionaries here. And we just want to talk a little bit of how this thing happened with him. And so, Daniel, what's the deal? How did you end up here? I mean, what's the journey there? Where's the mission bug? What got you here?
Sure. Well, I'll try to give you the condensed version.
Please do. Please do. We got a lot to talk about, but go ahead.
It started, I benefited from growing up in the same church that Ben and his family went to before he started.
You're talking about the director, Ben Butler.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Yes. And so before he started Way of the Cross officially, he was doing work in Matamoros with on the street, basically helping people, helping kids, helping.
So this is like before Way of the Cross was Way of the Cross.
Yes, yeah.
Well, we're going way back, BC.
Yes.
Go ahead.
And so
how old were you at that time?
I was about 11 or 12 years old. Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah, I was young.
A baby boy. Go ahead.
He was asking for people from the church who were interested to come and help him and support him. And I ran up to him after service and I'm like, I want to go. And he said, go ask your parents. And he's like, yeah, they'll never let him go. But
yeah.
My parents are like, yeah, go. Yes.
Gotcha.
So I ended up, I'll be honest, through most of my middle school and beginning of the high school years, almost every Friday, Saturday night, I spent with Ben going across the bridge into Matamoros, just running at that time he would show videos that are movies that were in Spanish that were evangelical. So I'd run the projector or I'd help set up things and stuff like that. But and so I loved Ben. I loved Jeannie and the family. And then I moved away my senior year and went to college up in Wisconsin.
So you started this when you were a preteen.
Yes.
Now you're off somewhere else.
Went off somewhere else completely.
Got it.
Yeah.
So let's skip the off part. Come back to me. So then you got back here.
I came back. Well, fortunately, I was able to marry his oldest daughter.
So there's a connection here.
Yes.
No wonder you look happy. So go ahead.
She's a beautiful, intelligent woman, and I was very fortunate to have her hand in marriage. And through that, I was able to reconnect with the Way of the Cross, of course. And Kathy and I at that time, we actually lived away from the valley, jobs and school and things like that. But both of us, when Kathy finished school, we were praying really hard about our next step, and both of us felt compelled to come back to the valley and be part of.
Let me drop something on you there, because there's challenges on missionaries. People have asked us a lot of questions. I mean, the finances,
right.
The moving from one place to another. In your case, it wasn't that hard of a move, but a lot of people are from Timbuktu,
sure,
and they're being sent to Timbaya.
Sure.
I mean, so far.
Yes.
So, I mean, how do you answer that yourself? How did you say, I'm gonna step into something I'm not used to? I mean, give us the short version.
Sure. Well, I'll be honest with you. It was a lot of prayer and a lot of seeking God's voice and reading scripture, and just over time, he confirmed it in both of our hearts. That was one of our prayers, that if he's calling us, that he would make it absolutely clear to both Kathy and I. And he did that. And we didn't have a pile of money or anything like that. We came on faith and somewhat. But God provided jobs for us initially down here, and that's how we stepped into it, slow but sure, so to say.
Okay, good deal. Mm-hmm. So here is another thing. So how do you say to the person who was sitting at church, he saw a missionary speak about the mission field and all that stuff. His heart started beating, but he needed to figure out, is it something what I need to back up missions, or is it something that I need to be a missionary?
Right.
Either one is useful if God is in you, but how do you make that decision, in your opinion? Anyway?
Sure, yeah. Well, I was in that position for a number of years. I'll be honest, I felt as a young man that God had called me to be a minister. And so for years, though, I had worked hard, and I made sure to pay my tithe and to support missions. And I God uses at different people at different stages in their life to do different things. Some he uses as prayer warriors. And I remember, God allowing me to have a heart for missions and to pray earnestly for the people who were on the mission field. He uses people financially. He was able to use Kathy and I in that way. We were able to send our checks every month, and we knew that the money was being used to preach the gospel and to reach people in a very earnest way. It wasn't going to waste. And then the third way, eventually, not everybody gets to this point because God uses people in different manners, but eventually he called me to be a full-time missionary. And so it's really just developing that relationship with God and being obedient to him.
All right. That sounds good. It's kind of funny. Recently, you and I were out there in Mexico somewhere, and I for those of you who don't know, I introduced him as Brother Fel. And he speaks enough Spanish to figure that out. I said, here's Brother Fel. He's like, wait a minute. That's the ugly brother. What are you talking about? I tried to play that one to you. I forgot you grew up in the valley, so you grew up around Spanish. You were Buchanan.
I was Buchanan, yes. Up north it's Buchanan. Down here it's Buchanan.
Buchanan.
Yeah.
Anyway, so culturally you clash with something. You are used to it here, but most people are not. So,
yeah.
Talk to me about the culture shock.
Sure.
What's the deal there?
Well, again, for me, I will be honest, God just put an absolute love in my heart for the Hispanic culture, and growing up in it and everything, it felt like I was coming back home, to be honest with you. For me, Christmas is palm trees and Christmas lights.
So you like tacos then?
I love tacos.
Okay, here we go. Can't be a lover of Hispanic if you're not into tacos, man. Go ahead.
But God, throughout the Bible and even in present day, if God gives you a heart for missions, he's going to give you a heart for people and a love of people. And part of that love of people is embracing them where they're at in their culture and trying to understand them in the context in which they live. So,
what do you say to the person who is not called to missions? Mm-hmm. He could come on a short mission trip, sure. Or he's sitting somewhere in Ohio or somewhere in South Carolina, and they have the heart for missions, but they're not missionaries.
Yeah.
What do you say to them?
Wow. Well, I can say that God uses those trips in a powerful way. I know that personally. I know I would not be the person that I am today without going on the short-term mission trips that I was exposed to through my teen years. It number one, humbled me. Number two, made me very grateful for God's blessings. And number three, it just gave me an absolute love for people and realized that, I'm just one speck of sand on the beach of God's creation, and I think, like I said before, there's plenty of ways to get involved in missions, and I think God has called every person to missions, whether it's in their hometown or whether it's in a short-term mission trip, either through prayer, through just sharing your faith, through financial, contribution, or he does call people to attend short-term mission trips, and I can tell you it is absolutely life-changing. If you come into it with a heart of just allowing God to speak to you and show you what he has for you during that time.
Awesome. Well, God bless you, hermano. It's good to have you here. And we're blessed by that. And, just if you have that whole deal of what missions is about, guys, just pray. Because, here is a sign of somebody who had been on both sides of the aisle on that as a supporter and a blessing to missions, and then now as a missionary. So it can be done, and it's a good thing. Blessings to everybody. Say bye.
Bye.